Sitcoms love their character types. Big guys often fill this role. They are frequently used for comedy relief. These characters are often easy targets for jokes. Their size becomes a running gag. Think about classic television comedy. You will see this pattern again and again. These characters often share common traits. Laziness is a big one. They try to avoid work at all costs. They might have a deep love for food, sometimes a bit too much love. Often, they are not portrayed as very smart. They might be clumsy or make silly mistakes. These are familiar characteristics we see. They get laughs, sure, but they also create a stereotype, a very specific, often unflattering picture. Let's look at some examples. Newman from Seinfeld comes to mind. Then there is Chief Wiggum from The Simpsons. We also have characters like Jerry Gergich from Parks and Recreation. Now let's talk about a different show, a show called Cheers. It was a very popular sitcom in its day. The show was set in a cozy bar in Boston. The bar itself was a main character. People came there to unwind after work. They came to share their stories. They came to have a drink, or several. The heart of Cheers was its sense of community. The characters who frequented the bar were like a family. They shared good times and laughter. They also went through hard times together. They offered support to one another. Viewers felt like they were part of this group. Cheers boasted an ensemble of truly memorable characters. Sam Malone was the owner of the bar. Diane Chambers started as a waitress. Carla Tortelli was another waitress. Among the cherished regulars at Cheers was NormPeterson. Norm was, undeniably, a big man. He had his favorite spot at the bar. He always sat on the same corner stool. He was a true fixture at Cheers. You could count on seeing him there. Every day, like clockwork, after his workday. Or sometimes during his workday. At first glance, Norm might have seemed to fit the mold. He certainly had the big guy appearance. He had a legendary love for beer. He could spend countless hours at the bar. He was not a wealthy man. He was not famous in the wider world. He was simply Norm, an ordinary, relatable guy, just trying to get through the day, with a little help from his friends and a cold, foamy beverage. However, NormPeterson was wonderfully different. NormPeterson had a truly special, iconic greeting. It happened every single time he walked into Cheers. The moment he stepped through that door, the entire bar, patrons and staff alike, would erupt. They would shout his name in unison. Norm! It was always loud. It was always joyously enthusiastic. It never failed to make viewers at home smile. It was a signature moment of the show. Pure television magic. This boisterous greeting was reserved only for Norm. It was a clear sign of how much he was loved. In the world of Cheers, he was a true celebrity. Everybody knew his name, and they were always glad to see him. His arrival was an event. It was like a warm, welcoming hug, perhaps a very loud, slightly beer-scented hug. It made him and us feel right at home. It was a simple yet powerful ritual. After the customary shout, Sam Malone would usually ask Norm a question. Something along the lines of, "How's life treating you, Norm?" Or perhaps, "What's shaking, Norm?" And Norm, without missing a beat, always had a funny answer. Section 5. Life Beyond the Barstool. Norm's World. NormPeterson wasn't just a man who sat on a bar stool. He had a life that existed outside the comforting walls of Cheers. He was a married man. His wife's name was Vera. Interestingly, viewers never actually saw Vera. Her physical absence became a long-running gag on the show. Norm frequently joked about her, or he would complain about something Vera related. She was a big part of his life, unseen. His comments about Vera were consistently funny, but they also hinted at a real relatable marriage, complete with its everyday ups and downs. When asked, "What would you say to a beer, Normie?" he famously replied, "Daddy loves you." This highlighted his priorities comically, but it also gave glimpses into his home life. He often talked about household repairs, and Vera's questionable cooking, or her many, many phone calls. Professionally, Norm was an accountant. It was clear he didn't always love his job. He often fantasized about different careers, or, more often, about avoiding work altogether. That is a sentiment many people can understand. To make extra money, or when between accounting jobs, he sometimes took on house painting work with his friend Cliff. Section 6. The King of Quips, Norm's Unbeatable Humor. NormPeterson's humor was undeniably a central highlight of Cheers. He was the undisputed master of the one-liner. His jokes were consistently smart and well-timed. They were often wonderfully self-deprecating. He had the rare ability to make fun of himself. He could find humor in his own situation. This quality made him incredibly endearing to audiences. He wasn't afraid to laugh at his own expense. His wit was characterized by its dryness and keen observation. He would often sit quietly at his stool, observing the goings-on around him. Then at the perfect moment, he would deliver a zinger. His comedic timing was absolutely impeccable. George Wendt, the talented actor who portrayed Norm, was brilliant. He brought Norm to life so vividly. He clearly understood the character on a deep level. He made Norm unforgettable. Let's recall a few examples of his classic humor. Coach once asked, "What's your favorite season, Norm?" Norm, without hesitation, replied, "Tax season. Less crowded." That was pure Norm. Section 7. A friend to all, why we loved Norm. It is no exaggeration to say that people genuinely loved Norm Peterson. He was, at his core, a fundamentally good friend. He was always willing to listen to other people's problems. He would offer advice when asked. Sometimes his advice was good. Sometimes it was humorously questionable. But the important thing was, he was always there. He provided a steady, comforting presence in an ever-changing world. He was incredibly loyal to his friends at Cheers. He was an integral part of their lives, and they, in turn, were a huge part of his. He celebrated their joys and successes with them. He shared in their sorrows and disappointments. He was much more than just another customer at the bar. He was considered family by the Cheers gang, a big, often grumpy, but ultimately lovable, beer-loving teddy bear of a man. One of the main reasons for Norm's appeal was his relatability. He was far from being a perfect human being. He had his share of flaws. He struggled with his weight, a common issue. He frequently complained about his wife, Vera. He drank a significant amount of beer regularly. But these very flaws are what made him so human. Section 8. Norm and Cliff, an unlikely enduring duo. Norm Peterson had a very special best friend at the bar. That friend was Cliff Clavin, the neighborhood mailman. Cliff was, to put it mildly, a dedicated know-it-all. He constantly spouted an endless stream of facts. These facts were often hilariously incorrect or utterly obscure. He could be incredibly annoying to the others. Very, very annoying at times. But Norm somehow managed to put up with him. Their unique friendship was a cornerstone of Cheers. Norm frequently and expertly teased Cliff. He would often roll his eyes dramatically at Cliff's outlandish stories. Yet, beneath the teasing, he was also fiercely protective of him. They were a classic odd couple pairing. Norm, the quiet, witty observer. Cliff, the loud, often oblivious fountain of misinformation. It was a dynamic that provided endless comedy, a true sitcom bromance. They sat there side by side on their bar stools for many, many years. They bickered like an old married couple. They bantered back and forth constantly. They even embarked on various adventures together. These adventures were often ill-fated and disastrous. Section 9. A lasting poor Norm Peterson's sitcom legacy. Norm Peterson was so much more than just a funny character on a popular show. He effectively broke the established mold for big guys in sitcoms. He demonstrated that such characters could be genuinely witty. He showed they could be intelligent and insightful. They could be more than just a simple sight gag or a one-note joke. Norm Peterson, played so wonderfully by George Wendt, had real depth. Before Norm graced our television screens, many overweight characters were portrayed quite simply. They were often defined almost entirely by their size, or by their voracious appetite. Norm certainly liked his beer, there is no denying that. His bar tab was legendary. But that was not the sum total of his story. He was a fully fleshed-out, three-dimensional character. He had a distinct personality that went far beyond his physical appearance. He truly paved the way for other, more nuanced characters in television. Characters who were not simply lazy or foolish stereotypes. He showed that audiences connected with and loved relatable people. People who had flaws, yes, but also people who had great humor and a good heart. His immense popularity over 11 seasons proved this point conclusively. He was a consistent fan favorite for a very good reason.